Hello and welcome to Something Special from MinnMax. I'm Ben Hansen, joined by...
Jacob Geller.
Who the hell are you, Jacob Geller?
Well, I'm a former intern from Game Informer, and now I'm a man who makes YouTube videos and puts them on the internet.
I thought you were going to stop it, and now I'm a man.
I had my bar mitzvah.
My GI mitzvah. When were you a Game Informer intern?
I was last summer
Is that it?
Yeah, the E3 of 2018.
What was the most defining memory of your internship at Game Informer?
Oh boy. Everyone trying to figure out who was in the Devil May Cry 5 trailer. Because it was E3 and tensions were high, and we were like, is this Virgil? Is this, I don't know, it's a guy with white hair.
And then the headline just said, white-haired, mysterious devil character.
And at the same time, you could already see people like tearing apart reporters on Twitter for like not knowing the right ones. And so we're like, oh, we got to get this right.
That's very fun. Did you have a good time with the internship overall?
Yeah, it was great.
Okay. You have since blossomed into a man after our own hearts with a flourishing YouTube channel because it's very fun. I went back and I think it was a text chain when we were trying to line this up because you have a separate job and you just happen to come by Minnesota where the studio is. So it's like, hey, please come by for this. And I think the last text you sent me was something about like, can you please get Harmonix to send me codes in the future? Like, yeah, Jacob, I don't think so, man. I don't know. And now you're a hot shot.
You're beating down my door.
Because you have made video essays for your YouTube channel. One of them was about Shadow of the Colossus, and my mom texted me about it the other day. Somehow this video has, no, that's not true, but it has just taken over YouTube. It's amazing. Like, I think I saw YouTube Gaming tweeted out.
YouTube Gaming tweeted about it, and that was after it had like 1 million views already, and it has continued to just skyrocket.
Now, this is about trying to uncover the remaining secrets in Shadow of the Colossus.
Yeah, there was a group of people who for 10 years looked for a secret that they believed was in the original game, and there was no secret, but they found something even greater, and then the remake had a nice little, like, tribute.
And I argue they found or discovered the ultimate secret, which is Jacob Geller's YouTube presence.
There you go. That was it.
What do you attribute to the success of that video? Like, why do you think the ball started rolling and YouTube said, aha, shove this in people's screens?
It's always very hard to talk about YouTube success because it just seems so random. Like, the answer is always the algorithm, that YouTube decides to show it to people. And I think that this video had a couple kind of prominent people tweet about it early on, and so it got kind of like an initial boost. And I think YouTube takes how long people watch into account, and so people were watching for like pretty much the whole thing, and so they started boosting it. And then people just like secrets and Shadow of the Colossus. And I think that was like, those are two things that if you see a video with that on YouTube, you're just going to click on it.
But that's the thing. And so, by the way, the point of this video is you're going to share some tips that you've learned along the way about how to make video essays about games, which I think our audience is very interested. Jeff Markifava is going to be watching this. Absolutely. I'll be watching this from the first person perspective. But I think a lot of people don't understand YouTube analytics and where views come from. Like at Game Informer, like I grew that channel up from 0, and that was the most mind-blowing part, is a gigantic slice of that pie. Like I think search was, I'm trying to think, like maybe this year, the last month at Game Informer, something like that, search accounted for like 12% of the views, and just a crazy majority of that pie is literally just home screen, as in YouTube has chosen it to put on people's home screens. No more insight beyond that other than the YouTube gods have said, this one, when people wake up in the morning and check YouTube, it'll be at the top of their feed.
Yep.
Cool. And then that results in you getting $14 million for talking about Shadow of the Colossus?
Yeah. No, actually $0 because I used the song from Castle in the Sky and that.
You idiot.
Joe
True?
Masashi. Yeah, cool. So here's the thing. Before that video, the most views a video of mine had was like 5,000. And so I was just like putting in licensed songs and whatever because it was like, why I'm going to make this fun for myself, which you should still do. But yeah, I had a licensed song in that video. And so that one is not at all monetized.
That's amazing. Well, that's fine. Some people, like, you hear the stories about them selling their stock with Apple early on in the company's history. This is your version, is just, I gotta get that Castle in the Sky music in there.
So tip number 0 is think about the music you're using.
Which, okay, let me throw, so you're gonna have your tips, and I'm gonna throw in some suggestions on top of those as somebody who's made very few video essays in their life, but a lot of videos.
Millions of videos.
Yeah, I would like to count it up at some point, and it's thousands, right? But there's a YouTube free music library.
Yes.
2/3 or so of the old Game Informer show music was from this. You can just search YouTube music library, search the moods, search instruments. You can choose whether or not you want to attribute the original owner. So just go to not attributed or however you frame that. And then you can just use that music. And there's a lot of crap in there, but there's some really solid tracks. Like so many people would ask me with the Game Informer show, what's that track from? What's that track from? It's like, you could use it in anything you want, everybody. It's right there. Please don't use Castle in the Sky. Okay, tip number 1. Let's get to it.
Okay, so tip number 1, and this sounds silly, but I watch a lot of video essays, and so this is important. Have your video be about something.
What do you see
and
out
by
there?
that, okay, so the like less pithy but more accurate thing is like have a thesis, like be able to tell me the video idea in like a couple sentences, and most importantly, don't have it be a review. Like this is an important delineation, I think, because if you want to make reviews, that's fine, that's good. But if you are making a video that's not billed as a review, then I want there to be something said other than like, this has good parts and bad parts, and I feel like a lot of people are good at kind of that analysis level of like, here are the things I really liked, here are the things I don't, and then they don't take it any further than that.
Right.
And I want, like, when I think back on a video, I want to have like a takeaway.
The thing you'd recommend it to a friend for is like, I saw this crazy video about...
Yeah, and they said this, or they were talking about
And they said
X.
this game had some pros and cons. Check it out.
Shadow of the Colossus is a game of contrasts.
Okay, you say it should be about something. Does that belong in the title? Does that belong in the first paragraph of the script? Last paragraph of the script?
That's a great question. You should really communicate, like have it be in the title. I think that it's hard, especially if you don't have a following already, to call a game like Dear Esther Analysis. Because it exists already.
Yeah.
People kind of have ideas. They're like, I don't need an analysis. I know what this game is for pretty much everything. But if you call it like, if you name it your take or something related to your take, so people see it and they know that it's something they haven't seen before, that's gold. That's what you want. You don't want them to see your title and be like, I already saw someone that I like trust talk about that.
Do you think that people don't do this because of two options? One, it leads them to being too hyperbolic. If their take is Eternal Darkness is about the Civil War, just pulling this out of my ass, right? Then it's like, how many points do I have? How many points do I have to back this up? Isn't that, or is it just they have too much to say and they have a tough time whittling it down? Like a game like Shadow of the Colossus, you could talk about that for 1,000 hours. And at the same time, it's like, well, I have so many points I want to make. I want to fit into this video, and therefore, I'm just not good at editing before I get to the script.
So there's tip 1.5. Don't say everything. Like,
Great point.
You need... Part of having a focus, having it be about something is like, it cannot be about everything, and I think it is really, really hard to talk about story, themes, gameplay, graphics, like have all of this turn into one thing that's cohesive if it's not a review. Because, if you want to just tell people to buy it or not, that's fine. But if you want it to kind of like focus in a direction, I feel like you should really find what's important about that.
Got it. Number 2, what do you got?
Okay. Number 2, this one, I'm proud of this one. So timeliness is not as important as novelty. That's something that I feel like if you read a lot of games journalism or you look at kind of like popular people, you'll be like, Call of Duty came out, everyone's making videos about Call of Duty. That's the way to get views.
This campaign sucks. This campaign's the second coming of Christ. What do we got?
Yeah. And to that, I would say my two most popular videos are about Shadow of the Colossus and Super Mario Galaxy, both of which were a decade old or more. And so I feel like this again goes back to like people have trusted people that they go to for takes. And so maybe this is kind of a new creator's guide, but like, you know, if you have a take about Call of Duty Modern Warfare, new one, that's great. But since there are so many other people talking about that with established audiences and with kind of like a history of trust behind them, it's just going to be really hard to like get anything out in that. And you can't. If you have a great take about Modern Warfare, cool.
Or Control.
Yeah, and I have done that sometimes, but they don't work just based off of like recency bias. And what I've actually found is way more powerful is nostalgia or something. So don't. There are a lot of people who make videos about old games as well. But if you have something that you've wanted to talk about, if you've wanted to talk about something for years, like if it's good, people will still want to hear it.
And maybe there's a sweet spot for making videos about games that are 3 years old. Mm-hmm. Is that going to be the secret? It's like, oh, you make a bunch of think pieces about Uncharted 4. That'll rope them in there.
I think so.
Really?
I mean, you know, isn't that it's like you want people to remember that they enjoyed something or remember that they thought about something or whatever. But you don't want them to be so inundated with like opinions about something that yours can't stand out.
Sure.
And so I think that rushing to get a video out, you know, as soon as the game comes out or to hone in on a modern trend is just kind of a losing battle because you're just going to be competing with a million people who have, you know, the same takes as you and bigger audiences.
Yeah, for sure. Number three.
So this is an important one to
How was
YouTube.
that water, by the way?
Oh, it was great.
Got a big swig.
Okay, number 3 is to be personal. And this is both in kind of what you're talking about, like you know, if you're talking about your experiences, talk about your experiences. You know?
Is there a line of not getting too self-indulgent?
Yes. So it should be how you related to the thing, you know? So like the story about me adopting my dog is not related enough to, I don't know, I mean, stay tuned for a Last Guardian video, maybe. Mm-hmm. But like, it's not a podcast. You don't want just kind of like an hour of like kind of talk about whatever. But I think that trying to come off objectively or kind of in like an unbiased way is just like not a battle you want to have. You know, I think that being, you know, talking about how you emotionally relate to something or just kind of what this thing means to you or how you relate it to things in your life will actually get people to relate to it a lot more because it will remind them of how they feel about things rather than just kind of approaching it like a robot who's never had human experiences. Mm-hmm. And also what's important about that is that people get really attached to personalities on YouTube. Like you know, the people that you like, as much as you like their writing talent or whatever, you probably also just like them. Mm-hmm. And so on a place like YouTube, you know, having yourself be memorable, you know, letting your audience feel like they know you a little bit is a really powerful way of just like keeping people around and making them think like, oh, I saw Jacob Geller's video and I liked how he talked about this because it kind of like gave me insight into how he thinks about things.
Right.
And so even if this one is not on like my favorite thing, you know, I like his personality. I like how he's going to talk about it.
Yeah. What are the specific tips for like injecting that personality? Like I think of like the haunted house video you did where like, you know, at a certain point you were laughing about quoting the Bible and stuff in there. Like just those quick little one-offs without going too far down the rabbit hole?
I think just kind of letting your audience know that you're a person, like it's okay to kind of like be cheesy about things. I've had a lot of people just say like, hey, I like that you're like sincere in this, and I know this is actually something that MinnMax has talked about. It's just like things, and let your audience know that like you really like this or you care about it. And
if you're the type of person who is going to have YouTube shove a gaming video at the top of your YouTube algorithm, you probably actually like games and don't want Snarktown USA about them.
Yeah, and it's, that's not saying like don't be critical of things, but yeah, just kind of being, saying like, I don't just like this because it, ticks the 5 boxes of a good game. I like this because I'm a person and playing this makes me feel good. And, like it makes me feel good because of X is a pretty good place to start. And I think just like gives people a sense of who you are. And I think that's important.
That's great. Next tip.
All right. Another tip, which is related, is playing to your strengths. There are a lot of YouTube gaming channels out there and a lot of people who just kind of want to talk about games. And that's it. And the thing is, we all have kind of like knowledge bases and experiences that are not games or not just game analysis. And I think that is really where you can like make your channel stand out.
So focusing just on Minnesota-related content is what you're suggesting. Okay, got it.
With the population of Minnesota, it's millions of people.
Oh, we get those 8 million Patreon subscribers?
So I think like, so I went to school for sociology, and sociology is not inherently related to, well, I think it is. But, like most people when they're talking about games are not, like, from Gramsci said this or whatever. But because I have this kind of like secondary knowledge or whatever, I really try to pull in that kind of like history and theory and whatever into stuff I'm making. And some of my favorite channels do that with like kind of just weird things. Like there's a channel called Mix and Jam. Have you ever heard of this? So they're really cool, and they have true game dev experience. And so what they do is like find a mechanic in a game, and then they're like, we're going to try to make this again in Unity or whatever. And so it's like,
oh, interesting.
So it's like Metal Gear Rising's Blade mode.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Let's try to just like figure out how to make this work. And like, I can't do that. I do not have the knowledge to do that. And so watching someone like take that approach is really cool. Or Alexandra Orlando has a channel that is all game fashion. That is just like reviewing, like,
that's awesome.
Let's talk about Fire Emblem fashion for a minute.
Who else is going to do it? Yeah, absolutely.
Let's talk about how bad the Riddler's costume was in Arkham Knight. And like, that's great. And it's like, it's clear that she knows what she's talking about outside of just having played a game. And so being able to pull in all this other stuff that you know about is like a really good way to make your channel stand out, make it interesting.
Yeah, for sure. These are gold mines. Keep going.
Okay, so number 5, and I think you will appreciate this, is you are making a video. And that's, video essay is what these are called. And we all write the script first. And I feel like a lot of people write the script, say the words, and then are like, all right, I fill this with gameplay footage and I'm done.
Right.
Right. And even if that gameplay footage is directly related to what you're talking about, I still don't really think you're utilizing video.
Do you mean you need, well, it helps to have visual punchlines, B-roll that's commentary, like a bit of a commentary on what you're talking about?
I think that you just have so much more, like you have so many more tools to work with when you're using video. And so like, I will constantly be talking about something and kind of like have a thematic through line from something I talked about before. It's like you can remind the audience of that just by using like footage you used before. Yeah. Or you can hard cut in a way that you can't in essays to have a cut be kind of like shocking or jarring or whatever.
Right.
You can use music, and I don't understand why everyone doesn't use music all the time.
Yeah.
Like, people are like, wow, your video seemed like really emotional. I was like, I just use music.
It is so funny. Yeah, it's such a simple lesson, but I remember when I had my first video production internship in the cities, this old timer producer, he just laid it out in a way where I'm like, I should know that, of course, but I never thought of it that way. Where he's like, yeah, no, it's very simple. Like, the video tells you what to think and the music tells you what to feel. It's like, oh yeah, of course. That's what music's doing in videos. Like, it's so clear. Or like, I notice it when people are talking about movies a lot. They'll talk about the portal scene from Avengers Endgame, right? And it's like, God, that made me cry. I thought it was incredible when Falcon flew by. It's like, yeah. Secretly, though, is the music is hitting you so hard, it's telling you to cry. Yeah. Or the new Star Wars trailer, it's like, this looks awesome. Correct. It sounds 3 times as awesome.
No, I often feel like I am just cheating when I put in
100%.
Like, it's like, I got sad Red Dead music, I'm gonna put this in and this is going to like read as like 5 times as profound as like whatever I've written down.
To the point that I get a little bit annoyed by it at times. Like, I listen to the New York Times' daily podcast, which is really great and borderline overproduced, but sure, we like hearing you making those phone calls every day. But there's something so cheap about putting music to news, which is what it's doing a lot of the time, where it's like, you'll never believe what the Secretary of Energy said, and the music's just like, wonk, wonk, wonk. It's so easy to make you feel a certain way about things like the government,
Yeah, so there is a fine line. You don't want to be too on the nose about things, or at least like, you want to know when you are being on the nose, and then you can make it a joke or something.
Right.
Also, to that end, we were briefly talking about me being demonetized. Most video game music, almost all video game music, will not be copyright claimed. So
very true.
I use a lot of game music in my videos because I know it, I kind of like, I'm looking for, kind of a tense feeling theme, and I know where I can go. But also, like, that works. If you're trying to monetize your videos, then like, you can use video game music, maybe do a test upload before, but be like relatively confident that you're going to be okay.
So if you love Metal Gear Solid 3, feel free to use Space Oddity. Just throw it in there.
Any track from Guitar Hero is fair game.
All right, what do you got? Next tip.
Okay, so these are some, I know from game clubs, you like really specific stuff.
Hell yeah.
Okay, so
By the way, I don't know what a game club is. The deepest dive I'm very familiar with.
Okay. No series. This is a big one.
Series.
I don't. Okay.
Series
Think about if you're looking through YouTube, you've got a suggested thing, and you see the Fundamentals of Game Design Episode 5.
Right.
I don't.
You really have to care to click that many times to get to the start.
Yeah.
And YouTube is designed as an ecosystem for tapping it while you're lying in bed.
Yeah. I think you can do exactly the same stuff that you would do otherwise, but just not call it like you can even have the same if you just want to have the Fundamentals of Game Design jumping, that's great.
Right.
But don't put a number on it. Like, don't make me feel like I have to catch up to things, and also don't make it feel like it's not a complete work that I'm watching now.
Right.
I feel like these are more movies than TV shows, and that like I want to watch a thing and feel like it has a beginning and an end, and like I got something out of it, and I don't have to wait for the next episode to like find out where they're going.
Yeah. Here's something weird. I'm curious if you make sense of this, but I was talking recently to a very high-level video producer for a very big magazine that's not Game Informer. I'll keep it ambiguous. But they're like, oh, we really want to expand on YouTube and have more people putting our videos in the watch later or like the saved playlists.
Sure.
And I was like, yeah. But I don't know what they're talking about. They made it seem like that's more valuable if it's a level of video where it's like, I'm putting this into saved later. Do you understand why that would be?
Well, I mean, I think it means that you... I bet someone's more likely to watch it once it's in their watch. I make videos that are 20, 30 minutes long. I know that people can't, if they're looking through YouTube on their phone, like tap on that and watch it. And I would prefer for them to watch it all the way through in one go. And so I think that kind of goes back to like having a really original idea and a good title is like you want it to be interesting enough that they will want to watch it like enough to put it in something.
So yeah, so that
like
when they're sitting on the couch later at home and they really want to focus on it.
Yeah. You want to hook them before they've even started, and that's hard. I mean that is really hard, and you've got to do a lot of things. Thumbnail helps.
Do you have thumbnail stuff on there?
I don't actually have thumbnail stuff, but
this is an art,
talk
man.
about it.
What do you think about it? What makes a good thumbnail?
I think that
red arrows.
Big secret revealed. I think that it should be very clear what it is, especially if it's a game. You want to know like what game you're talking about. Again, this is a place where a lot of people like to put logos or things in their thumbnails, and I generally think those are kind of unnecessary. I think that if it's good enough just on its own, like if it's on a front page, people aren't clicking because they know who you are. You know, that's what your subscribers are for, and they know that anyway.
Right.
When you're trying to hook a rando, what you want to have, this is industry lingo. You want to have, you know, a kind of like just interesting looking, clear what it's about. You know, don't hide that, and then, you know, have it be visually interesting third, but like, you know.
Yes, and it's nice not to use the standard screenshots that are out there all the time. If you've been capturing gameplay yourself, take the extra 3 minutes to line up and capture some footage that you can use as a thumbnail, like a close-up. I'm a sucker for a good close-up of a face. Anything that, you know, the YouTube default should be like, you know, just 720 resolution is fine, right? Just find something, then crop it in so you can get a nice face shot. But like in general, the thing is like, what I found is the videos that do really well, and maybe it's a coincidence, but I don't think so, is just like when you see the headline and the thumbnail image, it tells a little bit of a story. You know exactly what you'll know if you tap that video.
Yeah.
Like, how will I be better if I tap on this video and watch it? I will know what the takeaway will be, right? Instead of just, what is this? Yeah, it's the logo for the company or the game, and the headline isn't telling me anything. Like, be specific, tell a little bit of a story just in that. And like, the image, I think, is outside of SEO and where it's organizing on YouTube, like the image is so much more powerful for getting people's attention than the text.
Yeah, I mean, so I didn't make my thumbnail for Shadow of the Colossus. That was a friend whose channel is GamesD, who is super talented at like Photoshop and whatever. But just go look at that thumbnail, and I can say this because I didn't make it, so it feels a little less like self-congratulatory.
Does it have a bunch of text on it? I'm trying to remember.
It has, so it is a picture of Wander and the horse and the bridge, so it is very clearly Shadow of the Colossus.
Yeah.
And then it just says, the search for the last great secret. And it's a picture that I took in the game's photo mode, and so like the composition has a big empty space where words can go.
Right.
And then he just put the words right there. It's well incorporated into the picture, you know, if you look at it up close. But I think more important, it's just like, you see, great secret, bridge means Shadow of the Colossus.
Right.
Gold.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, unless you use Castle in the Sky, then it's more dust.
Gold
Fool's gold.
for Miyazaki.
All right, next step. What do you got?
Okay, so next step. Here's another little one. But I talked about music being good. Record your voiceover while you're listening to your music. This is something that I do all the time, and I kind of thought this was normal, and then I've talked to a lot of people who don't do it, and I realized that this is kind of like a weird thing that I do. But like, tone is so important, and varying your tone is super important, because if you have a 30-minute video and you're just kind of reading it all in like the same cadence, the same like emotion, whatever, your brain can't like separate the parts of it.
Sure.
You know, like it's hard to have that when you're just kind of like reading through a thing. And so music helps break up sections. But what helps break up sections even more is if the music and you change at the same time. So
that's amazing. I never thought about that, because nobody would think of doing that, because it's like, oh, let's just record the VO. This is how we do all the stuff at Game Informer and MinnMax here too. It's like, record the VO, then we'll edit it, we'll find some music that works, yada, 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 move on. And it's just, no, let's actually put the cart before the horse in this one instance and pick our music tracks.
I spend a long time thinking about music, and I will often either I will have them before I start recording, or I will record, I'll pick music, and then I'll re-record with like using that music, because I think it's that important. I think that it just does a lot for your voice in ways that you will not be able to consciously perceive. But like listening back to it, there's a clear difference to me of like when me and the music are on the same wavelength and when we're not.
Right. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
Very
and so,
subtle.
not something that everyone needs to do. My videos tend to be pretty emotional, whereas, like a lot
break down in the heap of tears so often.
I mean, I have had many people say, like, you sound like you're on the edge of tears the whole time. I was like, yeah, I'm talking about Super Mario Galaxy, man.
B is beautiful.
Yeah, so if you're talking about programming or whatever, you don't need to have an emotional cadence, but I still think it helps for you to just have the same energy as like whatever you're working with.
Got it. What about listening to your own voice? A lot of people hate it. Do you enjoy it? Do you think it's necessary?
You just got to do it a lot.
Right.
I mean, like I really don't think there's much way around it. I've been on podcasts and whatever now or I've just kind of made peace with my own voice. And I think that's kind of it. I think you just got to do it.
It's distinct. If you're watching a Jacob Geller video, it's like, I remember this guy's voice.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, this is funny. The video guy for No Clip, who I can't remember his name, but he and I have the same voice. Like he was talking on a podcast.
I meant to invite
before.
him actually onto the podcast.
Yeah, he knows way more about video stuff. Yeah, but you just do it. This is actually here related to my last big point.
Yes.
And then we can just talk about this.
Please.
And this might break your heart as someone who I know cares a lot about like tech and equipment.
Well,
the equipment you're using, the software you're using, not that important.
Interesting take.
So, and let me explain. I think that a lot of people get hung up on like, I don't want to, it's like I need $1,000 microphone to be able to do this at all. Or I need to have Final Cut or whatever to be able to like actually edit my stuff well. And like, it's not the case. Like they certainly improve things, if you can afford $1,000 microphone, why not?
Sure.
But there are so many other things that you can improve that are like your work, your craftsmanship, that change a video way more than like the little nitty-gritty stuff that you're using.
Yeah, audio quality, I think, unless it's really bad, right? But I think people will notice it for the first 2 to 3 seconds, and then you get used to it. People aren't pausing it, booting up another YouTube video saying, okay, this compares to this in this way. It's just like your brain will adjust to whatever the level is pretty quickly.
Yeah, and another secret is if your audio quality isn't great, use music in all your videos.
Drown your voice out for this video essay.
Yeah. Actually, a secondary point, which as a video editor, but like listen to your stuff on a bunch of different sound output things.
I mean, just headphones though, right?
No. Because I've had many times where I've thought that my music was mixed great in my headphones, which have a really dynamic range or whatever.
And then you play it out of speakers, and it's like, I can't hear anything.
You watch it on your crappy phone speaker, and everything is drowned out.
Yeah.
And so it's important to do that. But that's, that is in your production of the video, and that's not the stuff you need to make it.
Right. Well, let's get specific then. I mean, Audacity is a free way to record audio. It's great. OBS is what we use here at MinnMax. We use a Game Informer, also free. So much of this stuff is free. The microphones we're using now, between $300 and $400. Cha-ching, cha-ching. But, I mean, you can get a Blue Yeti and find a decent place to record it as long as, you put some dumb blankets on the walls.
Yeah.
Or like literally I had somebody suggest one time, this audio expert, he's like, yeah, you can use a thing like a Blue Yeti. Literally, if you just hold it and talk into it and you're facing a couch, like a couch cushion, like bury your face in that couch, it'll sound awesome.
Yeah.
Like there's ways around it. And a Blue Yeti is like $100.
Oh yeah, no, I mean that is what I use, and it's like if you go on Craigslist, there are a bunch of people who just failed a podcast
Yes.
and they are all selling their Blue Yetis.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
you can do this. Yeah, I have a friend who uses I think the editing software is called like Magic or Magica or whatever, which he swears by and so, says that he can absolutely do everything he watches, and his editing is great. Like you can really do a lot. I started out knowing nothing about editing software and have just kind of taught myself over the course of doing stuff. I do use Premiere.
Okay.
So I've got kind of like the Adobe suite, but I don't know how the hell anyone uses After Effects. I don't like there is a lot of stuff that I still don't know that I feel like before I started making these, I was like, well, if I don't know how to use After Effects, how am I even going to start making video essays?
Right.
You don't need it. Like,
oh yeah, absolutely not.
If you know how to just kind of like line up clips in a sequence, if you know how to, I don't know, put a filter over them sometimes. I mean, my last video was the first one that I've ever filmed myself doing, and I did that with my phone on a tripod. Like, and it's like, maybe you can tell, but it absolutely does the trick, and finding stuff like good lighting or whatever made way more of a difference than like spending a bunch of money on a camera.
Yeah. Also, in terms of capturing gameplay, I mean, Elgato is, you can get one that captures, at 30 frames at least. I mean, for under $100 probably used.
Yeah.
Don't worry too much about that. Otherwise, man, so many of these game companies, they release a lot of gameplay footage on their official channels. Like, just rip that.
No, I have many times.
Oh, before I forget, 4K video downloader is what I use.
Yeah,
it's a great option. Okay.
Several times I have seen gameplay on someone's channel, just emailed them and said, hey, I'm making something. Do you mind if I use this? And they've been like, yeah, sure. And then you write, like, hey, this is courtesy of whoever. That's fine, you know? Also, if you have...
Please reach out to them, though.
Yeah, no, don't do it without asking. If you have an NVIDIA card, they all have this thing called Shadow Play on it now, which is a perfect capture system for basically anything on the PC, and it doesn't slow anything down, and it is just built right in. Like, there are lots of cheap ways to do this, and I feel like my biggest advice is, like, just start making things.
Right.
Like, you won't... There's no amount of prep that you can do that's going to give you the same just like level of knowledge than just like doing something, messing up, see like, well, in this video I did that and I didn't like it that much and now I can fix it. And like, you just have to start making stuff to do that.
Right. Pixar's Andrew Stanton directed Finding Nemo and more importantly, Finding Dory. John Carter fans out there of Mars, that is. But he had the perfect analogy, the smartest take I've ever heard on that, which was, thinking that, well, I'm going to think a lot about this and then my video essay is going to be perfect. It's like, that is the dumbest thing to do. That's like somebody thinking for 10 years about how to play a guitar and then expecting to pick up the guitar and the first time just nail it. It's like, no, it's trial and error and slowly learning along the way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And along those lines, also, like, you don't have to start from scratch because there is so much stuff out there right now of people working at the same level you could be. You know, it's like I watch a ton of these things, and it's important to just kind of like have that level of literacy of just knowing like, hey, this is a common thing that a lot of people do. That seems great. Like you don't need to reinvent the wheel here. And you can also identify things that people aren't doing that you could, or, things that they don't like or you don't like that they do, and then you can not do that.
Yeah, for sure. What is your YouTube channel, sir?
My YouTube channel is named Jacob Geller. Just go right there, Geller.
There we go. Very
not
smart.
like the Vampire Slayer.
Oh, is there a famous vampire slayer?
Yeah, Sarah Michelle Gellar spells her name A-R. Meant a lifetime of headaches.
Literary figure. Okay, I'm sorry. That's very obvious. Congratulations on your success. Official handshake.
Thank you,
well
sir.
done. Does it feel good to be successful and to have Kotaku run articles on you and stuff?
Yeah, it feels good.
Yes, it does.
It does, but also do them because they're fun. Don't make them with the expectation of getting a bunch of people patting you on the back, because it takes a long time and it's totally random.
Yeah, totally. And that's the ultimate takeaway. It takes a long time and it's totally random.
It's totally random.
Oh, I should ask you, what should the headline and YouTube thumbnail for this video be?
Oh boy.
I was thinking how to make a video game essay.
I think it should
colon
be
with Jacob Geller. Or I'm sorry, parentheses with Jacob
just
Geller.
impact font, Jacob Geller, thumbnail, and title, "We got him, boys."
Headline, now he's a man.
Now he's a man.
Okay, we'll figure out something very smart. If you're watching this on YouTube, thank you. First of all, feel free to subscribe to the channel, MinnMax 2 N's, as you can see. We'll have more videos like this in the future. If you want to listen to the audio version of this, which if you're a pro, you would have said this at the beginning, but what are you going to do? You can support us on Patreon. There's a $5 exclusive show RSS feed that's going to be a dumping ground of hopefully a lot of very insightful videos and commentary like this one.
Dumping ground, a very insightful place.
Kind of like a big garbage pile of ideas, as we like to call it. Thanks so much for watching, everybody. Bye.
Bye.